Brad Schimel, you're listening to News Radio 620 WTMJ. Michelle Litchens, Brian Sigma in for Charlie Sykes.
Welcome back, Michelle Litchens and Brian Sigma, sitting in for Charlie Sykes. Our state definitely has some landmark spots to visit on vacation. But what if you're looking for something off the beaten path? John McCure features some of the state's hidden gems during this weekend's edition of Travel Wisconsin, beginning at 2:07 tomorrow.
And now we're joined by the Attorney General of the state of Wisconsin, Brad Schimel, whose office has been quite busy since he was elected, and there's no lack of work for them to do, most recently with the decision by a Dane County judge to strike down the state's right to work law. Mr. Attorney General, great to have you on.
Well, good morning. You guys are doing a great job covering Charlie this week. Hopefully not planning to change the lockdown.
Well, yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
He'll be back in on Monday.
So, sir, I'd love to get an update on what's going on with the right to work lawsuit. The left has, for some reason, decided to give you and your staff grief for this, apparently not understanding that it is actually the constitutional duty of the Attorney General of the state to defend the laws enacted by the duly elected legislature and signed into law by the governor.
Yes, that's exactly what I promised to do on the campaign trail. And I'm grateful that I'm defending laws like right to work because I politically agree with those. But if there were laws that I didn't politically agree with, I could do my job as well. But this one actually is pretty easy to defend. There's so much case law on our side on this that I think this law's not going to have a lot of trouble being upheld.
So even though the heart of the decision that came out of Madison was that the labor unions have a right, as it were, to a segment of the wages of people who work for companies that are unionized, which I think is a pretty unique approach to property rights. So you think that reasoning is not going to withstand appeal, even if it goes all the way up to the state Supreme Court?
It's been examined before, and it has gone anywhere. We're one of 26 states that has right to work. It's been examined in countless state courts. It's been examined in federal courts, including the Federal Circuit Court of Appeals, which examined Indiana's law and upheld it as constitutional. Really what this comes down to is whether a legislature may make this policy decision constitutionally. And the courts have said over and over again that this is a decision that the policy decision that the legislature may make.
Well, thank you for standing up for the laws in Wisconsin and especially the workers. Now, can you give us an update about the EPA lawsuit that Wisconsin's joined in with a few other states? Can you tell us where that's at right now?
Well, we have a number of them. Actually, we're challenging the EPA on the Clean Power Plan, on the waters of the U.S. Plan, and on the Ozone and National Ambient Air Quality Standards Act. I suspect you're probably asking about the Clean Power Plan.
I am, but I did know that, well, I did know, right? It's the Obama administration. They're out in full force.
Yeah, well, the Clean Power Plan remains stay, and that stay will be in effect until the U.S. Supreme Court concludes any action they may take on it. That was the stay that they put in place. I do want to mention something about that. This is the very first time in history that the United States Supreme Court has stepped in and imposed a stay on a regulatory agency before there was even a trial at the lower level. They took a pretty extraordinary act here, and I want to just boast a little bit about our Wisconsin Department of Justice because even though we're not the lead state on that lawsuit, it was our Wisconsin Solicitor General who works in my office who wrote the briefs that persuaded the court to impose that stay, and actually Delaney Brewer, my Assistant Deputy Attorney General, and our State Public Service Commission wrote the declarations page that convinced the court that there would be irreparable harm if it did not impose the stay. So I'm very proud of our team over at DOJ. They did phenomenal work on that.
We're speaking with Brad Schimel, the Attorney General of the state of Wisconsin, and sir, you mentioned the work of the Solicitor General's office. You mentioned some of your Assistant Attorney Generals there. That has actually been something new that you have brought to the table at the Department of Justice since you were elected. It's kind of maybe part of your legacy, at least so far, is that you have kind of assembled a team of hardworking attorneys, people who are very well respected in the legal profession, who are now working on behalf of the taxpayers of the state of Wisconsin. What led you to decide you wanted to pursue that and really make the Solicitor General's office and role a bigger deal at DOJ?
Well, when you look at how things have been over the last 5-6 years, where every time the legislature passes a reform, not every time, but virtually every time, we end up defending that law, and usually in the Dane County Circuit Court, and then up through the appellate court, and then look at what the federal government's been doing, the tremendous overreaching, from the Obamacare mandates to the immigration executive order to all this EPA action. It's just time after time that the president is sidestepping Congress, that regulatory agencies are doing things that they're not authorized to do in the law. As we see all that, we really do need to have lawyers at Wisconsin DOJ who, and we've got many great lawyers, but they had work on their desks already. We represent all the state agencies and the state officials in many different areas. This division gives us the ability to have lawyers who are devoted specifically to defending states' rights and to defending the laws that are enacted by the legislature. And that's what they do day in and day out. And to develop a division like that gives you the ability to attract some people we probably never would attract. We've got 2 former U.S. Supreme Court clerks working in our Solicitor General's division. I believe there are only 5 in the state, and 2 of them are working over at DOJ. We've got 2 Justice Sykes clerks that are in that division, and we're able to stock that pond with some really, the lawyers who graduate at the top of their law school classes.
Well, I want to point out that this is not the Attorney General's office using the litigating process, the judicial process to make law. Because what we've seen is the Obama administration consistently disrespects Congress. There are regulatory regimes that they impose without the consent of anybody in Congress on either side of the aisle, and that burden hits the state. So what your office is doing is really standing up for the elected officials, not just in Wisconsin, but with the Solicitor General office, for standing up for Congress and holding unelected bureaucrats accountable.
I'm sorry to speak over you. We're enforcing the rule of law. If we dissolve the constitutional structure that our founding fathers, both at the federal and state level, put in place, it will be chaos. This has worked well for hundreds of years. We need to make sure that we stick to the rules as they exist. Federal regulatory agencies, and for that matter, state regulatory agencies, need to follow the guidelines set up in the rules passed by the elected legislative bodies. Otherwise, we'll have ceded control as citizens to bureaucrats.
We certainly would. Thank you so much for giving us a few moments of your time today. This was the Attorney General of Wisconsin, Brad Schimel.
Thank you.
Michelle Litchens and Brian Sigma sitting in for Charlie Sykes. And remember, up at 11:07, we will have Congressman Sean Duffy in studio to talk about some of the important things he's working on. 620 WTMJ.